give it up to the youth. Loyal to the squad if we win or we lose. It is in our veins that orange and the green running through and through. Cause you know we want it. Your squad versus ours, now they don't really want it. Our pedigree's deep with pros in abundance. Get ready for the storm cause the hurricane's coming. Let's give it up to the youth. Loyal to the squad if we win or we lose. It is in our veins that orange and the green running through and through. Cause you know we want it. Your squad versus ours, now they don't really want it. Our pedigree's deep with pros in abundance. Get ready for the storm cause the hurricane's coming.
What's good, Miami Hurricane fans? All right, I haven't had a chance to do this recap video to the Miami Hurricanes victory over Miami, Ohio on Friday night, but nonetheless, I'm going to do it today. Miami, a lot has ride on this season for the Miami Hurricanes, pretty much where the Miami Hurricanes are looking to have a bounce back season from a horrific bad season last year. Nevertheless, Mario Cristobal made some changes to the coaching staff, attacked the transfer portal, brought in some guys, added depth to the offensive line and the defensive line. Still been adding a lot more here and there with the latest recruit of the transfer defensive tackle from Alabama. But the one thing that stood out to me in the game Friday night was where Miami came out wanting to make sure that they put a stamp on that game. Was I happy, all in all, of the performance of the game? No, not in particularly, but there was a lot of highlights that I could take from that game to say, hey, this is what the Miami Hurricanes should look like. Now, Miami put out their best defensive performance since 2020. They did a lot of great different things. Tyler Van Dyke was efficient in some part, but there was a lot that left on the field. Also, I think for all sense and purposes, I think Miami played a game that they know that they needed to win, that they know that they couldn't have a bad performance because all the talk that would continue to go on and on and on and on. Like I said, Tyler Van Dyke played very well. He played. He was 17 for 22, so he only missed 5 passes for 211. The biggest play was with Jacoby Young, not Jacoby Young, but Kobe Young, with that 44-yard screen pass that went for the touchdown in the first half. The thing that I think I like about this is that Tyler Van Dyke was trying to get to the ball to his playmakers. Now, he started hitting Xavier Extrepro in the second quarter, in the second half of the game, where they needed more weapons. Now, they were trying to get other guys involved as much as possible, but the running game definitely came alive, which I love that. You know, Henry Parrish, I mean, he led the team with 90 yards rushing. He had a touchdown also. Fletcher he did a great job. He had 76 yards rushing. Now the Hurricanes, I think they had a total of 250 yards altogether in rushing, which that's something. The offensive line, you could see they started gel together later as the game went on. In the beginning of the game, they definitely didn't blend as well as I would like them to blend, but they did started blending in well to show what they could do. Now, Jacoby, out of all the receivers, Kobe Young, he led all receivers with 79 yards, 1 touchdown. That's the only passing touchdown that was in the game. Restrepo, he had 68 yards. Jacoby George, he had 56. And then Williams, the tight end, he came in the second half later in the game once the game was pretty much over. And that's when they inserted Emory Williams, that he looked very impressive. But everybody else caught a little bit passes here and there. Now, I do believe, I have to say this, I think that Miami held back a little bit because they have a big test next week with Texas A&M, who seemingly looking like they might be a very vast, different team as last year. I still think their quarterback is not that good. I think Miami, the way Miami's defense played Friday night, I think they'll have an excellent opportunity to get after this quarterback and make some plays. Now, the keys in this game was, like I said, was the running game. The passing game was okay. The running game, they kind of like balanced it out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? If you look at the plays in the game, Miami kicked the field goal, which they should have got a touchdown. That made it 10. Miami did scored on another 32-yard field goal by Morales. That made it 13. Then later on in the game, Morales kicked another field goal that made it 16. These are the things. That's 3 field goals. Miami, they still got to learn how to put points on the board. You can't just get down there and start kicking these field goals. You got to put points on the board. You got to utilize your skill set. The one thing I did not like about Miami on Friday night was they did too many screen passes. Too many of those screen passes. I mean, it's good you mix it in every now and then, but just to sit back and just screen instead of use slants and comebacks or sidelines and mobility. Use a little bit of mobility, get out the pocket and stuff like that. Now, in the third quarter, now this was all in the first half, all of these field goals, and the score was at halftime was 16-3. Now in the second half, the third quarter, Mark Fletcher he rushed for 26 yards. They started running the ball a little bit more. They started getting, they came out passing a lot more and they ran a little bit. So the second half, they started running the ball, started wearing down Miami, Ohio a little bit more. And then you started seeing Fletcher and Harris started to gas these guys, started taking it to them. Harris ran he got the 26 yards to the end zone. That gave them a little bit push. Then next you had Parrish rush for 12 yards. That made it 31. You know what I'm saying? And then Don Chaney, he came in later on, he rushed for 20 yards, but he bulldozed his 20 yards in for a touchdown. So the running game was more of a focus point in the second half than it was the pass. The pass was more emphasis, but the thing about it is there's a lot to emphasize in the passing game where Miami's going to have to find ways to get their playmakers involved. They can't do these bubble screens all the time because they're not going to be working against Texas A&M like that. Texas A&M is going to play up. So Miami going to have to find ways to get points on the board. And it can't just be by field goals. They got to stop punching scores into the end zone. You know what I'm saying? They can't do that. They can't sit there and wait back and say, hey, you know what? Let's take a field goal. Because if the defense is if the Miami's defense playing as good lights out that they did Friday night on Saturday, Miami has to put points on the board. Because eventually the defense going to get worn down and Texas A&M is going to challenge them. And guess what's going to happen? If these guys get out of position and Texas A&M go up 14 points, 14-3, and Miami has to find a way to get back in the game somehow, then you're going to put your offense in a situation where they're going to get away from their game plan. So I like what I see from the defense because this is what I want them to do is like be aggressive, punch these guys in the face. The offense is going to have to be a little bit more aggressive and they're going to have to, hit big plays. They're going to have to utilize the running game. Now, like I said again, early in this video, I do believe that Miami held some stuff back. I really do. I think they just wanted to get out there, use a couple plays, see what they got going on, how this team is going to mesh. Because knowing that they got a big game next weekend, you don't want to show everything. but you made sure the running game been the emphasis. Because guess what? When Texas A&M come, the main thing they're gonna be looking for is the running game. You know what I'm saying? They will be looking at the running game. So, well, Miami ran the ball very, very well. So let's try to focus on that. They didn't pass as well. And then now, I mean, personally, I think Shannon Dawson should also use play action. I think they need to use play action a lot to get guys out of position. When Tyler Van Dyke, kind of like try to move him out the pocket instead of sitting him in the pocket, kind of like roll him out a little bit. Use some of that, the mobility that he has. You don't want to just sit there, be a pocket passer. You want to move him out a little bit, roll him out. You know what I'm saying? He could run out. You don't want him to run, but you want him to be out, be able to manipulate the defense a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see that game next weekend. Also, I did like what Emory Williams did when he came in. He made some good plays. Also, I love the way he moved on the run and he found his wide receiver right there in the flat. I love that his ball placement is pretty decent. Now, Mario Cristobal did say that he went with Emory Williams because he deserved it, but he said the number 2 position is not settled yet. And that means that you could see Ja'Cory Brown next week. You know what I'm saying? Depends how the game flows. The game could be just like this, or it could be a little bit tighter. But guess what? They probably have packages where they could utilize Ja'Cory next week in the Texas A&M game. Exactly, as a runner. You know what I'm saying? You could probably mix it up with Tyler Van Dyke, have him back there. You could probably have Fletcher and Harris in the backfield with Ja'Cory, where on a set there where you have to pay attention to everything that's going on, and then you might have 5 some receivers open. Then you can use Ja'Cory as a runner, a quarterback thrower as a runner, because he does have that capability to do that. So all of this stuff plays into next week's game because you don't want to show a lot of your package out there. But I do believe Shannon Dawson do have some packages that he's going to throw out against Texas A&M, especially when it comes to Ja'Cory Brown and other weapons that's on the team. I do like 88, the tight end that came in the game. Hope we get to see him play a little bit more part of the first team, but it remains to be seen. But for all sorts of purposes, I do like what Miami has done. Just the offense was just a little vanilla for me, but I get it. Because if they didn't have to play Texas A&M and they played another scrub game, you probably wouldn't have still see the full arsenal of the Shannon Dawson's offense until that time. So you probably get to see it now against Texas A&M. So with that being said, join me on Tuesday nights for Canes on the Daily with my co-host Donnie. We're going to chop it up, go over this game again, and then also talk about the preview to the Texas A&M game and see how Miami could pick up a most crucial win in the early weeks of the season. If Miami could pick up that win, that's going to bode well with them because North Carolina do look pretty good last night. I hate to say it, North Carolina looks good last night, but they was playing against South Carolina, so that's what all sense of purposes. Who knows? I mean, they got Appalachian State next week. That could be a loss. So who knows? But anyway, just to let you know that Miami seemed like they have figured things out for this game. So we'll see what they're gonna take into Saturday's game, which that game will be at 3:30. So again, it's your boy LiveWire Sports Media. Catch me on Tuesdays for Kings on the Daily, and I will do probably a college football recap, weekend recap, probably later this afternoon. Maybe not. Who knows? But until then, go you. We out. Peace.